On July 14, 2008, the sequel of the Gotham's Defender saga premiered in the USA. The Dark Knight transformed the Batman saga into a profound exploration of both social fears and superhero ethics. 15 years later, Nolan's film remains a colossal presence in the world of comic book cinema, its intense atmosphere gripping audiences to the screen for 3 solid hours. Mirrored Reflections, American Psychopaths. The Dark Knight is a brilliant experiment in the realm of superhero morality. The screenplay by the Nolan brothers and David S. Goyer highlighted the main issue of the Batman saga, briefly mentioned in the comics. It's not billionaire Bruce Wayne hiding behind the Batman mask, but Batman camouflaging himself in the guise of a respectable playboy and philanthropist. Christian Bale's restrained hero is obsessed with the maxim of justice for its own sake, while Heath Ledger's psychopathic anarchist is driven by the maxim of chaos for chaos. Both are perfect reflections of each other, revealing a morality untarnished by pragmatic goals. Christopher Nolan used graphic novels as material for complex dramatic rework. Alan Moore ironically addressed this idea in his The Killing Joke. 2 kindred madmen engage in a confrontation for the moral image of the entire social system, the police, justice, and ordinary citizens, as seen in the pivotal ferry scene. If The Dark Knight is criticized for being ostentatious and excessively dramatic, it's unjustified. Nolan, in many ways, structured the film as a grand experiment, attempting to balance faith in justice against the gradual erosion of virtue within the hierarchical structure of society. The film's dramatic tension grows through Nolan's skillful use of parallel editing, his favored technique, later perfected in Dunkirk, the capture of Harvey, Dent and Rachel, Joker's escape from confinement, and Batman's attempt to locate the clown while he orchestrates a spectacle on the ferry. In the simultaneous convergence of events, an epic cinematic image is born. Before the dawn, nocturnal realism. In The Dark Knight, Nolan departed from the Gothic decor and Art Deco, showcasing the contemporary life of a bustling metropolis, primarily during the nighttime. The Joker's bank heist, spectacular tunnel chases, and police operations attempting to cripple criminal syndicates, The Dark Knight openly drew on the atmosphere of Michael Mann's Heat, a methodical action film with piercing character depth and epic scope, and one of the most iconic heist scenes in cinema history. Through cinematographer Wally Pfister's lens, Gotham resembles Mann's Los Angeles, a cold city draped in a thick blue haze and shimmering with orange-brown lights. Nolan's action-packed thriller, along with its climactic scenes, is a creature of the night, yet the intensification of the plot, bold and gripping, often unfolds during the daytime. Joker's terror crashes in unexpectedly, disrupting the order and illusory safety of the modern city. The Dark Knight transplanted Batman from the noirish realms of pop culture into a tangible world, a world no less burdened by social entropy than the comics. Superhero in the grip of the zeitgeist. The Dark Knight deftly responded to the challenges of its time, primarily political ones. Gotham becomes mired in anarchy and the rampage of criminal gangs, forcing Batman to employ controversial extra-legal mechanisms to salvage faith in goodness, at the cost of truth and civil liberties. Nolan's Batman is a hero born in an era of international terrorism, societal security paranoia, and political double standards. The end can seemingly justify the means. Notably, Batman's methods were cleverly compared to George W. Bush's actions during the War on Terror, offering a conservative apologist interpretation of the film. To preserve social order, sometimes freedoms and basic moral imperatives must be sacrificed, hence, Batman, much like the US during the Bush era, receives carte blanche for intensified surveillance over citizens. Consciously or not, Nolan painted an unsettling portrait of American society post-9/11, transforming the metropolis into a nervy point of social infrastructure. Gotham is a New York City vulnerable to the same absolute senseless terror. Batman himself is no longer just a hero with a shining moral code, he becomes a carrier of a mask of evil, forced and pretentious. With Nolan's protagonist, realism entered the realm of comic book movies, particularly sociopolitical realism, where caped crusaders no longer neatly fit into the one-dimensional concept of good and evil. The merry science of ethics, Joker's trump cards. The Joker represents Heath Ledger's crowning achievement, a portrayal of a punk anarchist persona amplified with the sadistic flair of Alex from A Clockwork Orange. He forms the dramatic core of The Dark Knight, conducting the orchestra of social order. Ironically, Batman is pushed to the periphery of the plot, assuming a more subordinate role. The conflict of The Dark Knight ascends to an entirely new level as the Joker's game of terror morphs into a lethal execution of unblemished virtue and heroism. The film showcases how such white knights as Harvey Dent become victims of their own heroic idealism. Dent, initially an untarnished crime fighter, gradually becomes entangled with the criminal underworld, falling prey to straightforward moral manipulations. Aaron Eckhart's character becomes both the secret weapon of the psychopathic clown and Nolan himself, intensifying the film's moral relativism. Initially, it seems that crushing the flamboyant thug and his gang would suffice for a heroic victor. Sound, an ambassador of anarchy. The cohesive imagery of the film owes much to the music of Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard, their tense, anxious, and occasionally epic themes, which, according to Zimmer, became one of the most challenging endeavors of their careers. The soundtrack adeptly combines orchestral and electronic elements, while the sound of strings being played with a bow produces the main motif for the Joker's appearances, a scratching, uneasy resonance that accompanies Heath Ledger's character. The Dark Knight is a composition of cold, drawn-out notes, heroic themes, and explosive electronic escapades, transitioning as chaos unfolds in the plot.